Team Reptilians, thanks for joining us today on Team Reptile. We're actually out at Indian Springs Metropark, which is located partly in White Lake Township and partly in Springfield Township. And we're out here today to check out a very cool species of snake. A lot of people have misconceptions about this snake. It's actually the Eastern Massasauga Rattlesnake. And it's the only rattlesnake, in fact it's the only venomous snake in Michigan. There are no other snakes in Michigan that have venom or poison. There's a lot of people out there that think there's water moccasins, coral snakes, all these different venomous snakes in Michigan, but really there's only the one, and that's the Eastern Massasauga. And they have quite a few of them out here at Indian Springs Metropark, as well as in this region here. There's quite a few out at the Shiawassee Basin area, quite a few out in the Clarkson area, usually around the wetlands and sometimes more of the wooded areas, but they try to stay around those wetland areas, sometimes move up on the hills in the summer, in the drier areas like that. But what we get to do out here today is very exciting because we've actually hooked up with a couple biologists that have a study going here, and these biologists are from Indiana-Purdue University, which is in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they've been doing an ongoing study here specifically on the Eastern Massasauga. They have a couple locations in the state, and this is the one location here in Oakland County that they've targeted because of the population of the rattlesnake here and the diversity of the rattlesnakes that they have here when it comes to the size and the gender. And we've actually got to come out here and meet up with these guys, go around and get a close-up view of these snakes. And just like I said, there's quite a few misconceptions about them. A lot of people think they're a dangerous snake, think that they're aggressive and that they have to be so careful around them. And you do have to show respect for this snake, but it's not an aggressive snake, and we'll get to see some of that today, I'm sure. We're fortunate enough to have with us Joe Sage. He is heading up the Massasauga Rattlesnake study here at Indian Springs Metropark. And Joe is actually a graduate student from Indiana-Purdue University. And Joe, could you explain to us a little bit how we are going to track these snakes today?
Sure. Every one of our snakes is implanted with a radio transmitter. It's a small little transmitter about the size of a AAA battery that gets surgically implanted in the side of the snake.
Okay.
And it transmits a continuous radio signal. And we can key into that signal with a radio receiver, which I have right here, and an antenna, which I have right here. And we just use the antenna to locate the signal. The signal is directional, so when you point the antenna directly at the snake, the signal gets louder. When you point it away from the snake, the signal gets quieter.
All right. Okay, well, let's take a look around and see if we can find some. As we made our way out along one of the trails at Indian Springs, Courtney and I searched the edges in hopes of seeing some wildlife. Joe had made his way up the trail a little ways ahead of us and to our surprise had already located one of the Massasaugas from their study. Now Joe has actually already picked up one of the signals of one of the rattlesnakes, so he's going to try to locate it. We're not actually going to walk in with him. And it's not a concern that we have about being bit. It's more of a concern we have about stepping on the snake and injuring the snake. So we're going to allow him to go in first and try to find it, and then he'll let us come in and get up nice and close and take a look at it. You can see how he first uses the radio transmitter to try to pick up the signal, find where that signal is strongest. and then he has to search by eye. He can only get so close with the transmitter, picking up the stronger beeps, and then he's actually going to have to search, use visual search to locate the snake.
Oh, there she is.
Like that.
Right there.
It's actually very hard to see her in here, and Joe's explained this quite a bit to us about how the rattlesnake actually uses more of the motionless, almost like a, not really a stiffening up, but they'll actually just stay completely still and use their camouflage as more of a protection than they will the rattle. So far, I mean, we're very close to the snake, and it's made no aggressive movements whatsoever. It's not rattling, it's just basically sitting right there hoping to not be detected by it. Aaron, who is Joe's field assistant for the Massasauga study here at Indian Springs, had joined up with us and helped to locate a snake that was trying to take advantage of what little sun this cold morning had to offer so far.
She's going to sit there and pretty much just wait for me to go away. If I get closer, she'd either coil up or move rather than try to strike at me. And also one of the neat things is they're most aware of the heat. So if I take this and put it behind her, because it's a cold item, she's not worried about that. She's more worried about me because I'm a heat source in front of her.
Now, how is it they sense the heat? It's through the pits there on the...
Yeah, they've got a heat sensing pit between the eye and the nostril. It allows them to sense heat of, like, for rodents and their prey that they would kill. But it also for larger objects that could be a threat to them. She's tongue flicking just to smell around.
While we were all looking at the snake, Aaron noticed something about the rattle.
You can see down here, and about the third segment from the end of the rattle, there is actually a little bit of damage where it's been caved in from, I don't know whether it's hard to tell, it could be a predator, it could just be from habitat it was moving through. But you can see there is a little bit of damage there. It got scraped up a little bit.
Now, of course, our main focus here at Indian Springs is on the Massasauga rattlesnake today, but there's such an amazing amount of wildlife here, and it's just a lot of fun for me just to see the different species that, you know, a lot of times we'll see in some of the areas there out where we do our camps and that, but just to be out here in the open and see this egret out here feasting away on little leopard frogs and little baby frogs and toadlets that are coming out of this pond, which makes me a little bit sad because I love those animals too. But it's really a neat thing for us to be able to watch this and watch nature happen right before our eyes. Well, Joe and I are actually looking around in this spot right here, trying to track one of these, and
Oh, there she is.
which Joe just found it, so we'll go ahead and check her out. Trying to hide under a leaf up here. She's kind of curled up in the ball. We'll get a good shot of her in a minute here, but she definitely is kind of clumped under a leaf and trying to remain undetected, just like all the others that we talked about. So you can see how close we already are, and she hasn't even moved. Just to give you a better idea of how actually reclusive this snake is, Joe and I have actually sat down next to it. I'm about 1.5 to 2 feet away, and Joe is too. It's right in between us right now. Joe's recording the data.